All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience, technical difficulties. User error on my end.
Yeah,
welcome in, everybody. Yes.
Walt's learning how to use this software just in time for it to go away.
I know. Right? It's the truth. It's going away in like 2 weeks. It's crazy. And then people have to teach me something new because I don't know what I'm going to do once that happens.
After the stream, we should talk.
I know. I'm telling you.
But Walt has a Mac, though, and it doesn't take Streamlabs. So,
exactly.
Well, I got another one.
Good.
All right. Good. As long as we have options. But welcome in, everybody, to episode 14 of SportsNite. We have two very special guests with us tonight. And we're going to have a great time as we talk tonight. We're going to fill out our all-time Major League Baseball team. Each position on the field, we're all going to pick the players that we want at that position to start our all-time team. But before we get started, we're going to get to the chat in just a second. I want to say hi to my special guests. But I want to start with my partner channel, my buddy. He's in here every Saturday night with me. And that's Steve from Steve's World. Steve, welcome in, pal.
Hello. How are you today?
Doing good, bud. Thanks for being here as usual. You ready for tonight?
Yeah, except you guys did a great job over on Fiasco, except you were wrong on a couple things. But the sorcerer's hat belongs right in front of the Chinese theater. But that's okay. It can. That's another stream.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate you pointing out our errors.
Oh, we got more of that coming.
Oh,
and thank you for the two special guests that we have here today as well.
Absolutely. And speaking of special guests, first and foremost, let me say hi to a guy who's been on here a couple other times before, and we're very, very honored to have him again. That's Jeff Dole Whip Dad. Jeff, welcome in, pal.
Hey. Thanks for having me. I love this stuff.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, first time on the stream, and we're so excited to have him, Ben from Pepper Tree Villa, sporting the Oakland A's gear. Welcome in, Ben. Thanks for being here.
Sure thing, Walt.
We're honored to have both of you, and we're going to have a great time tonight. Tons of people in the chat, so let's get right out there and say hi to a few people, and then we'll get started. We have Pete McDevitt's here, Rob Fuzz is here, Rachel Susik's here, Samantha Lowe's here. She's at Toledo over at the new place over at Coronado Springs. Congratulations. Captain Akron 27, Disney Eye to Eye Through Our Eyes, Kyle and Jessica are here, Kay Atwood's here, Noah's here, Pam's fan is here, Sierra Tails is here. Wow, we got a lot of people. It's Joey's World's here. Welcome in, Joey's World. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. I want to make sure I didn't forget anybody else. Dances with Goofy is here as well. Ray J's here. Ray J's all the way over in Indonesia. Happy Sunday, Ray J. I think it's Sunday for you. Welcome in. And I think that's everybody's. Miguel's here. Miguel Benitez is in here as well. Keystone 76 ARJ. John Hazelton's here. And I think that's everybody up to date. Oh, Adam's Land. Adam's in here as well. Welcome in, Adam. And Zippity Doodad Patrick's in here as well. Oh, there's Shep. Now they're all coming in. Yep. And Disney Eye to Eye, Kyle and Jessica. Zip's here. Shep's here. Thank you all for being here. And we're going to have a great time tonight. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think we're definitely going to get a lot of difference of opinions, which is great. That's why we wanted more than just Steve and I to kind of get a plethora of different opinions on who we think should make this all time. You
need some West Coast is what you mean.
Some West Coast for sure, absolutely. Well, we only got one person on the East Coast. Even Steve, I guess, is kind of Midwest, I guess.
Considered Midwest.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, for sure. But again, we're going to be filling out our roster today. We're going to have every position on the diamond, 5 starters if you have them, I hope, a couple relievers. We got to have a manager. So we'll be definitely having a great time with this, and we'll definitely want everybody in the chat to really follow along and play along too. Be sure to give us your picks as well. Bridget Clement, welcome in as well. But let's get started. We'll start with our guests. Ben, you're the guest because this is your first time, buddy. So we're going to start with you, and let's start over at first base. We're going to start with first base. So if you had to pick your all-time first baseman, who's the guy that's going to play first base for you?
Gosh. That's we're talking about 150 years of baseball, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. I'm a casual baseball fan compared to everybody else, and I'm really enjoying watching Matt Olson play for the Oakland A's over there. I mean, he scoops up everything that's thrown at him, even the worst throws from Simeon over at shortstop a couple years ago. He was just scooping them up like crazy. But he's only got one Gold Glove. So, I mean, that really doesn't hold up to a lot of the other guys that have been out there for first base. My gosh. Can you give me a favor and go on to the next ones while I think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're here. We'll give you an idea of how we're going to go with this. Jeff, we'll go to you next, buddy.
Can I ask a Ben a better question? Just
real
quick. Any idea what you were doing on October 15th, 1988? I guarantee you know exactly what you were doing. Tell me I'm wrong. I swear I have no idea.
I knew you were going to bring up Kirk Gibson.
Oh, is it? I thought it was more of a Dennis Eckersley thing, but that's just me. So anyway, first base. Love you though. Happy birthday. I went with. So I think the answer that people are probably going to expect here is Lou Gehrig, but for me, it's Stan Musial. Stan Musial was one of the great players ever, and I couldn't put him in left field, and we're not in left field yet. But Stan Musial, one of the great players ever, 3,630 hits, same amount. So good that most in the National League ever, and was good enough to play two positions. But for me, if I'm making out my lineup, he's playing first base, and I have no idea where he's going to hit because I got a bunch of 3 and 4 hitters in my lineup here. I love him. One of my all-time favorites. My dad grew up in St. Louis. He actually sold concessions out there in St. Louis, so he had a soft spot for Musial. It wasn't his favorite player. It was his second favorite player, but above and beyond that, one of the greatest hitters of all time. So he plays first base for me.
There you go. Absolutely. Great pick. I love Stan Musial. I didn't put him at first, but we'll see where he comes.
He had to make my team and couldn't play left.
Right. Well, we'll wait till we get to the outfield.
Oh man, there's so many left fielders.
Oh my gosh. So Steve, what about you, buddy? If you had to pick a first baseman, who's playing first for you?
This is scary. I picked Stan Musial as well. Oh. So me and Jeff have a little bit in common. His numbers back itself up. I mean, he's a great player. Like Jeff said, he had 3,630 hits. He had 475 home runs, almost 2,000 RBIs. He played in 2 All-Star games, and he was a 3-time MVP. I'm sorry. He played in 2 All-Star games in 4 different years during that span. And he was a 4-time All-Star, and he made it.
He made a few more teams than that. There you go. Okay.
Yeah. And he was a 3-time MVP. So easily for me, I know people like Gehrig. If we go back to my greatest players of all time, I think he was 3rd on my list, maybe 4th. So Stan Musial easily makes my list.
Great. And we're going to do honorable mentions too in a second, but I want to get everybody's first stringers first. So for me, it's Gehrig. That was my pick. I think, he succumbed to what is it? Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS.
Gehrig's disease.
Yeah, it was named after him, and he didn't even know it. But this guy is one of the greatest hitters to ever play the game with a disease that is a crippling disease. He was the Iron Man before Ripken beat it. I mean, he was the guy. 340 lifetime batting average, a 1080 OPS, 2,700 hits, 493 home runs, 1,995 RBIs, 3 of the top 6 all-time RBI seasons. He's got them. He's just incredible. He was an incredible player, and on top of it, and you know how I am with the good guys, he was an incredibly humble and great person on top of it. Yeah. He was the exact opposite of Babe Ruth when it came to who he was in real life. He was very humble, and I just love Lou Gehrig. He's the guy I wanted at first base, and I like lefties at first base, left-hand hitters, and he's a lefty.
Well, Musial is too, but yep, I agree with
you. He is, but I just didn't put him there. So, Ben, that's kind of where we're going with this, buddy. How about you? What do you think?
I got to go with my roots with the Athletics, and I got to go with Jimmy Fox.
That's a great pick.
Yeah.
Awesome. You were sandbagging, buddy. I like that one.
According to the stats I'm pulling up, he had a lifetime batting average of 325, 2,646 hits. He was an all-star 9 times.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's good.
He is one of the great players there's so many at first base. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Overlooked a lot. I think he's fantastic. That's a great pick. I love him. I think that's a great pick. Guys, what do you think of Ben's pick on Jimmy Fox?
Oh, I love it. I mean, he's one of the great mashers of that era. Doesn't get enough love. I love that pick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he definitely gets the short end of the stick when it comes to when you talk about the greatest players of all time. But he's a good pick.
Well, I see A's broadcasts all the time, and they talk about him a lot. So
Yeah.
he's not forgotten in Oakland.
Well, and as well, he shouldn't be, especially in his town, for sure.
Yeah.
So do you have an honorable mention? If you had to pick like a second string and Jimmy's not playing, you would want him to play next?
Albert Pujols.
There you go. Great pick. Especially in his prime. Good Lord, that guy could hit the ball, man.
Oh, yeah.
Great player.
I
Steve,
mean, a lot of people in St. Louis said, you know what? We don't need him anymore. But you know what? They've never forgotten him.
Well, I'll say this about Albert Pujols. I think the Angels would take that contract back if they could.
Talk about nice guys.
One
of the nicest humans on the planet.
Yes, absolutely. But unfortunately, he's one of those guys that I really feel is never juiced because his abilities have dropped fast.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
Fast. I mean, really fast. And but I love that pick. You can't go wrong with either one. Steve, you got an honorable mention, bud?
If this was 5 years down the road and we were doing this, I would add probably Cody Bellinger to my list. But I'm going to go with Lou Gehrig he was my honorable mention.
That's an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Let me just say, everybody in the chat, I can't speak for Ben, but I can speak for Jeff and Steve. I will be very impartial and unbiased. Unlike these two, I actually don't have to look directly at the team. I'll look at what really is true. Cody Bellinger in 5 years.
I don't have to look at what team I'm wearing. I just happen to root for teams that do better than the Orioles, and so they have better players throughout the history of the game.
Have a better history.
Cody Bellinger is one of the best first basemen already to play the game.
I mean, in 5 years he's put up there with all these players.
I said he's one of the best to already play the game, and in 5 years, if he continues his pace, he will easily be better than some of the all-time greats.
Jeff, your turn. Steve, have you been drinking?
So I know you said to do an honorable mention. I did an honorable mention of my favorite. I'll go fast. Lou Gehrig was the guy that is the obvious pick, but I went with Musial, so Gehrig would be my honorable mention. But my all-time favorite didn't play in Brooklyn, but Steve Garvey, my all-time favorite player ever, should be in the Hall of Fame. He's not. Somebody fix that. Hurry up right now. All right, I'm done.
Ben, all right. So Ben, so far I like your pick. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my God. Well, since you guys are going to do homers, I'm going to be homer about it too. If I had to pick an honorable mention, I'm picking Eddie Murray at first base.
Ooh, I like him.
The single greatest switch hitters to ever play the game. One of only 3 players at the time with 500 home runs and 3,000 hits. 19 grand slams in his career. He's a lifetime 400 hitter with the bases loaded. Just an incredible player. And he won 4 Gold Gloves, which everybody I think it's 4. It might be 3 or 4 Gold Gloves.
And he played on the Dodgers, so
he certainly did play on the Dodgers, and he should have won a batting championship with the Dodgers.
Right. Dang, well, look at you. I love it.
I know. Willie McGee beat him out. Would you like to know what he hit? He hit 330 that year.
He looked like E.T. the whole time too. It was terrifying.
No, McGee hit 335. Eddie hit 330.
And McGee
and he beat him out
the whole time.
It's crazy. But anyway, Eddie Murray was my honorable mention at first base. Great player.
Love it.
Yep. So there you go. That's great. This is spirited. I love it when we get really, really you guys, that's because they throw
I'm pretty okay with what I've got going on. So
poor guys. Ben, it's going to be a bad I'm not going to be able to handle these guys if they win the World Series. But
when?
I said if.
When?
But if you don't win the World Series, I'll be making some calls.
You can.
Won't be the Orioles, I'll tell you that.
No, it won't be. But if it's not the Dodgers, in the end, it doesn't matter. We're both sitting home with no ring. So
I'll be watching the parade around the Magic Kingdom with.
If you are, I'll be the first one on the phone to congratulate you.
I'm sending you my number as soon as we're done.
Yep.
Hey, I think we can at least all agree that we just hope the Giants don't come through at some point.
Oh, they won't. No, they won't.
Of course not. No. You know, I got to say this. One of the things going through Twitter in Bay Area sports right now is that the A's are 13, 14 games over 500 right now. The Giants just went on a 6-game winning streak, and they're still 1 game under 500. And the Bay Area media is going nuts over the Giants because of that. They never show the A's any love. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's why. That happens a lot. You see that a lot. You get that in New York. You get that with the Yankees and the Mets. The Mets always play second fiddle, and the White Sox, they play second fiddle to the Cubs. So it happens. It does.
What's it like with the Orioles and the Nationals out there in your area?
It's really just depends on who's doing well, to be honest with you. The fans are fickle. They'll follow the Nats if they're doing well. They'll follow the Orioles if they're doing well. So
like Democrats and Republicans.
Yep, there you go. It's true. I mean, yeah, it's true to a lot.
I'm not going on that stream right there.
I will. If you want. So there we go. So first base is done. Let's keep going around the horn. We're going to go second base. And because I want to laugh, Steve, you didn't pick Steve Sachs, did you?
I met that guy. I love that guy.
No, I actually, what I say, I really do mean. It's not a homer pick. So
I'm just kidding. I know. Go ahead. Second base, Steve. Who's your guy? Who do you want?
So it's easily Jackie Robinson.
Yes.
So revolutionized the game in itself, let alone his position. Batted .311 for his career. He didn't have a whole lot of hits. He had, he had 1,500 hits, which is still a lot, but
That's not bad.
Not bad. But what he did for baseball itself was probably the best thing. He was Rookie of the Year in 1947, obviously the first African American to do it. He was MVP in 1949, 6-time All-Star, made the Hall of Fame, like I said. And he only played 9 years. Mm-hmm. So what he did in 9 years made all the difference in the world.
Good pick. Good pick. Ben, what about you, buddy? Second base. Who you got?
This was a little tough, but I had to go with Joe Morgan.
Very good. No, he's fantastic.
Yeah, well, he had a career over 20 years. He was an all-star for over 10 years or 10 times. And he played for a number of teams, and best of all, he ended his career with the A's.
Mm-hmm. He certainly did. Yep. That's a great pick. That's a great pick. Jeff, what about you, buddy? Second base?
Jackie. He could start at first. He could start at second. He could start in the outfield. He could have been in the NFL. He was a stud in track. And obviously he's an icon of our history. But like Steve said, he's actually, in my opinion, the greatest second baseman ever. I do think there's a good argument with Morgan. I do. And there's a couple arguments with dudes who none of us were even alive to see.
Yeah.
But Jackie's the greatest.
Okay. Gotcha.
For me, for sure. And he was on the good guys team too. So,
so for me, it's going to be one of those guys that we've never seen. We're going to go way back. It's Rogers Hornsby, lifetime 358 hitter, easily the best second baseman to ever play the game. Incredible. We talk about guys that have muscle and big guys. This is a guy that was just a powerful man. He's just powerful. It wasn't just about muscle. He's like Paul Bunyan type thing. 358 lifetime batting average, 2,930 hits, 300 home runs, 1,584 RBIs. He hit 400 3 times. He's an incredible player, incredible hitter. It's Hornsby for me. Easily. Just an incredible hitter.
His numbers are out of this world.
They really are. I mean, he's fantastic. I love, we talk about stats all the time. It's hard to beat those stats as a player himself, especially playing in the eights that he played. He played in the dead ball era, and he still put up great numbers. So it's Rogers Hornsby for me. But let's go honorable mention. Jeff, we'll start with you, buddy. If Jackie's sitting the day out, who's next?
I went with Joe Morgan, and I don't like Joe Morgan. One of the worst announcers in the history of talking out loud. And he knocked the Dodgers out in '83. So I don't like him, but I got to be honest. If there's an argument for me against Jackie, it's Joe Morgan, and my favorite would be Jackie. But I do like Steve Sachs. I like the Steve Sachs reference earlier.
Yes.
Ben, please bring some levity back to this. Who's your honorable mention, please?
I went with Rod Carew.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah, 328 batting average for his career. He played almost 20 years. He only hit under 100 home runs, but he always knew how to drive a run in.
Yes. Yeah, that wasn't his game. It was not about that. I agree.
No.
Incredible hitter.
No. A lot of players underplay the small ball game, but Rod Carew knew how to do it.
Yes, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And thank you to everybody in the chat. I am watching. There's some great picks in there that everybody's talking about. Pam's fan says Lou Whitaker. He was a good ball player. He really was a good ball player for sure. Steve, what about you, bud? Honorable mention?
Hornsby was my honorable mention as well.
Yep, good pick. Great pick. For me, honorable mention, I went with Roberto Alomar. I think Roberto Alomar I just think he's very underrated. Nobody ever thinks about him. Incredibly gifted offensively, but incredibly gifted defensively too. Could steal a base, was really smart in the field. Usually your shortstop is your captain. I really found him to be the captain of the infield on his teams. Just an incredible ball player. He was a big difference for my team. When he came to the Orioles in 96 and 97, he helped put us over the top into the playoffs those years. I mean, we had bad teams before then. He was a difference maker. And Alomar's my pick, is honorable mention.
He came up with the Padres, and I lived in San Diego at the time. He was insanely talented.
He was part of one of the biggest trades ever when they traded him to Toronto for like McGriff, Tony Fernandez, Alomar, and what a trade. It was incredible. Right. Yep. There you go, guys. So second base is done. Let's see who we see in the chat. Did anybody put Jackie Robinson and Rogers Hornsby for Pete? Chuck Knobloch. There's an old name for you. Good one. Miguel pulled out Chuck Knobloch. That's a good one.
He could throw the ball at first really well.
Oh, no, he couldn't. But I don't think Steve Sachs could either, could he?
Yeah, that's good. Well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, okay. Well, Steve?
What?
Steve
Sachs didn't make my list.
3 months, he's going to bring up Steve Sachs.
I know. I'm just giving you guys a hard time. Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
It doesn't faze me. It's okay.
Yes, it does.
He's like, what?
It will. No, I'm just kidding. We gotta keep going. I'm just kidding. All right, let's move on to short. And this is where this one's going to be a toughie. I think this one's going to be tough.
I'm interested to hear yours on this one, Mr. Baltimore Orioles man.
You'll hear it in a minute. And we'll start with Steve this time, though. Steve, shortstop. Who you got? Who's your guy?
It's not going to be popular with anybody, but it's for me, it's easily Alex Rodriguez. Okay. Great stats across the board, almost 300 hitter. Had 3,100 plus hits, 695 home runs, 2,083 RBIs, 14-time All-Star, 10 Silver Slugger awards, 2 Golden Gloves, and a 3-time MVP. I think he played the position better than anybody, and I thought it was admirable that he switched to third base when he made it to the Yankees so that Jeter could continue to play. But I still think Alex was the best shortstop to play the game.
I no arguments with that pick. That's a great pick. Alex Rodriguez was fantastic at shortstop when he came up with the Mariners. Yep. They just kept churning them out. That was during the time when they had Randy, and then they had A-Rod, and then they had Griffey. They just kept churning them out, man. I agree. That's nothing wrong with that pick. What do you guys think of that pick? Ben, what do you think of A-Rod?
It's solid pick.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff?
I have a strong opinion about A-Rod, but I might mention him.
I got you. So a couple of people in the chat said Nomar, Alan Trammell, Ozzie Smith. Great picks. But Ben, what about you, bud? Who's starting shortstop for you?
Steve already mentioned him. I'd have to say Derek Jeter.
Okay.
As much as I'm not a Yankees fan, you got to respect the man's work. The guy was a 14-time All-Star because he was good at what he did.
Yeah, he was great. He was great. He definitely was. He was one of those guys, one of the smartest baseball players I've ever seen play a position.
And consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. But the play he made in the playoffs the one time with the flip,
they
overthrew the cutoff, man. Yep. I've never seen anything like it. Talk about headsy ball players. He was the only one that knew what to do on that play, and it just, I don't even like the guy personally, but you know what?
Agree.
I would take him.
Hey, he's in your division. Of course you're not going to like him.
Yeah, of course. But he always just was an Oriole killer all the time. But great. That's a great pick. Jeff, what about you, pal?
I picked Cal Ripken Jr. I didn't want to pick Cal Ripken Jr. I actually love Cal Ripken Jr. And I'm anxious to hear what you say about it. One of my favorite all-time players is my honorable mention, but I just couldn't go over the top. Cal Ripken changed the position. Look at the shortstops pre-Cal Ripken and look at the shortstops after. People with that body wouldn't even have been given that position before he did what he did. And he broke Lou Gehrig's record, one of the iconic records of all time, and he produced and he produced and he produced. He's when I looked at numbers, and I'm not as numbers guys as much maybe Steve is, but when I look at the numbers, I don't even see an argument here. It's Cal Ripken Jr.
Okay. As a guy who's from Baltimore and grew up, I can get Melissa on here to vouch for me. I was at 21-31 when he broke the record.
Nice.
I paid $400 for my ticket that night.
My
Okay,
God.
but I was there. I still have the ticket. I still have all the stuff.
Wow.
Cal Ripken's fine. Okay, I think Cal is a product of the streak. I think a lot of the numbers that he has have built up because of the streak.
And won an
He's a
MVP in
great
83.
player. I'm sorry.
He won an MVP 83, I think.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have. But that no, he shouldn't. He shouldn't have Eddie Murray should have won it that year. He had better numbers. He was the better player. He was the leader of the team. That's part of the reason why I'm not a big Ripken fan. But anyway, but you're right. What he did was he revolutionized shortstop because it wasn't about size. It was about positioning. He understood the pitchers, how they were going to pitch the player, and he knew where to position himself on the diamond. I agree 100%. That's why he made it possible for a big man to play shortstop. You're 100%.
And he's a great guy too. And I don't know. I hope you know this because you're in Baltimore. I've worked with the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation, not a lot, a little.
Mm-hmm.
They do great stuff, and I got an autograph ball right over there because I've been lucky enough to hang out with people in his foundation. They do great work, but that's not why I'm picking him. I think he's the greatest shortstop ever.
He is. So for me, my pick, because we got Steve, we got Ben, right? You guys gave your shortstops, right? So, all right. So again, you know me, I'm a traditionalist. I like the old guys. I'm going Honus Wagner. I think he's fantastic. 328 lifetime batting average, 3,420 hits, 101 RBIs. I mean home runs, 1,700 RBIs for a second baseman. He was first in all-time WAR for second base. He's just an incredible hitter. Again, another one of those guys that was just never thought about, but he was just an incredible hitter during his time. Another guy that put up incredible numbers in the dead ball era. I love Honus Wagner. His numbers are just awesome.
And if you've got his card, send it to me because it's.
If I had his card, man, that would be awesome. The number 9 Honus Wagner card. Yep, absolutely. So let's talk honorable mentions. So our starters, they're out for the day. Steve, who's your honorable mention, bud?
Well, I mean, I could go with Cal Ripken Jr., but his numbers don't even come close to matching up to Derek Jeter. As a matter of fact, Ripken, the only one that he leads in is the hitting into the most double plays ever. So
yeah, you're right.
But I mean, he played 2 more years. Mine's Derek Jeter. He played 2 more years than Derek Jeter, and Jeter has almost 400 more hits.
Mm-hmm.
Jeter has 5 Golden Gloves at the position. Cal only had 2 in a much weaker time when shortstops weren't as relevant. And it's easily going to be Derek Jeter for me.
Okay. All right. Ben, who's your honorable mention?
I'm going with Miguel Tejada.
Ooh,
Nice.
Iggy.
Yeah. 285 batting average, 2,400 hits. He hit over 300 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who expects a shortstop to hit over 300 home runs? You don't. So
I agree.
You need the utility person out in the infield to do their work out there. If they give you home runs, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he had 1 year when he played for the Orioles. He had 150 RBIs the 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a great player.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's nothing wrong with that. Jeff, what about you, bud? Honorable mention?
My honorable mention is also my favorite shortstop of all time. Again, I grew up in San Diego. I got to watch the Wizard do unbelievable, magical things with the glove. I never, ever thought when he left the Padres that he would get to 3,000 hits. He broke my heart in 85 with this. The dude couldn't hit a home run if he was standing in right field already, and he hit one off my Dodgers. So I'm not real happy about that. But the stuff he did with the glove and the hits, I wanted to make him first. To me, it was Ripken, but I don't. He's magic. The stuff he did was magic.
It's amazing how good a defensive player can be, and yet a lot of times those folks will be overlooked as Hall of Famers because they don't put up as great offensively. Whereas I feel you could be just as great of a Hall of Famer defensively, even if you don't have the offensive number, because some of these offensive players, they're not very good defensively. And they're Hall of Famers.
I suspect at third base you might mention as somebody who's got a pretty decent glove too.
We'll see. So my honorable mention, I agree with Steve. Say Rod. I'm sorry. Just unbelievable player. Fantastic. We know all about the performance-enhancing drugs, which is kind of sad to me because I don't think it was something that was needed for him early on in his career as a kid coming up with the Mariners. The guy was incredible. Talk about a scary hitter. Every time at the plate, you thought he was going to hit a home run, hit a double. Everything was extra bases with him. So I agree with Steve. It's A-Rod for me. He's my honorable mention. And a couple people in the chat, Ripken, a couple other people said some other names. Ozzy was in there. I saw that. I saw Alan Trammell. a couple others too. So there you go. Brooksy's coming up. We'll see. We're getting to third base next. So let's go there. Let's talk third base. We'll go back to Ben. Ben, third base. Who's your starter? Who do you want starting third base for you?
Easily. He's one of the most despicable guys because of what he did for the sport after he played. But I got to go with Pete Rose. The man was a machine.
Okay. That's a great pick. That's right. Pete played third base for sure.
Yeah. The man, he 4,200 hits in his career.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
He knew how to hit a ball.
Oh yeah. He was a great hitter. Steve, what do you think of Pete?
Oh, I like him. You know that I like him. But he's not going to play third base for me.
Okay. All right. And well, let's go there. Steve, who is your third baseman, buddy?
My third baseman is Mike Schmidt. In my opinion, easily the best overall third baseman of all time. He's a 3-time MVP. He's obviously in the Hall of Fame. He was a World Series MVP. He won 10 Golden Gloves at third base, and he's a 12-time All-Star. I just don't think anybody compares to that at that position.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's fair.
Perfect. Yep. Great pick. Great pick. Jeff?
My pick or my thought on Schmidt?
Both. Let's go. Thought on Schmidt first.
I'll start on Rose. I like Rose. If we had a utility position, I think it'd be Rose for me, but we don't have that position. Schmidt, he's my honorable mention. Great career, insanely good career. I can't argue against Schmidt, except I didn't put A-Rod at short. I put A-Rod at third for me. And A-Rod, I'm pleased to hear you guys both give him some love. He obviously screwed up. He knows he screwed up. Doesn't have any relevance to what we're talking about here, in my opinion. One of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time, and could play at shortstop or third on this exercise. It's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
His career is pretty amazing.
I agree. That's a great pick.
Zippity.
That's Travis Fryman.
I can't even say it out loud. Travis Fryman.
Travis Fryman was a good player. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he was a good player. There was nothing wrong. His career, look at his numbers. He put up some decent numbers for sure. Travis
He's in the top couple hundred third baseman ever.
Yeah, sure. But that's a funny pick. Sure. So my all-time third baseman, again, I don't do homer picks. I agree with Steve. It's Mike Schmidt. It just is. Okay. I love Brooks Robinson. I'm wearing his jersey right now. Okay.
You could argue Brooks, but
we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get the honorable mention, because he is my honorable mention. I want to talk about it. But Schmidt was just such a great hitter. He didn't hit for average, but here's a guy, 267 lifetime. He had 2,200 hits, which isn't bad. He had 548 home runs, almost 1,600 RBIs. He had 10 gold gloves. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of gold gloves. The guy was great at third base, and he's probably one of the most feared third baseman hitters of all time. So I agree with Steve. It's got to be Mike Schmidt. It just is. If he didn't have as many gold gloves as he had, I might have went Brooksy. But and not only that, Schmidt was the 1980 World Series MVP. For what it's worth. So there you go. Jeff, honorable mention. Who's your honorable mention, buddy?
It was Schmidt. And my favorite all-time third base, actually two of my all-time favorite players played third, and you could actually argue, but you can't, they don't get there for me. Adrian Beltre and George Brett, two of the greatest third basemen. I played third base as a kid, not in high school, but as a kid. And Brooks Robinson and George Brett are who I wanted to be. That's how old I am. They were iconic for me.
Yep. Honorable mention for you, Ben?
Adrian Beltre.
Great pick.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Love Adrian.
Yeah, love him too. He was good with the Expos. He was good with the Red Sox. He was good with the Angels. He was good with Texas. It didn't matter. He was good everywhere.
MVP with the Dodgers.
Yeah, he was it didn't matter. He was greatness was going to, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, first off. Oh, no doubter. So great pick. Steve, honorable mention?
My honorable mention is George Brett. He won the only gold glove that Mike Schmidt didn't win in 1985 of his 10-year run, 10 out of 11 years. Mm-hmm. And he's a 13-time All-Star MVP, won some Slugger awards. So I'm going with George Brett.
Good pick. Great pick.
And he flipped out awesomely on TV in one of the great clips of all.
Well, but justified. I'm sorry. That's why I got called back later on, and he got the home run, and they won the game. But I agree. I love George Brett. Great player. Great player. In the chat, Kay says Chipper Jones, another great pick, Hall of Famer.
Perfectly Cat. Somebody read Perfectly Cat. I love it.
What'd she say? I didn't see it.
She said I played outfield because, butterflies.
So for me, my honorable mention is Brooks Robinson. Single greatest defensive third baseman, 16 Gold Gloves. And not only that, he was great in the World Series. He single-handedly won the 70 World Series against the Red Sox. He had a great series against the Dodgers in 66 when they swept the Dodgers in 4 straight, beating Drysdale, beating Koufax. And I think the Dodgers only scored 1 run in the entire series. But Brooksy was fantastic in that series. And he played his entire 22 years with the Orioles. And talk about great people. Brooks Robinson is one of the greatest people as a human being you will ever meet. And they have a saying in Baltimore that says, in New York, they named a candy bar after Reggie. In Baltimore, we name our children after Brooks Robinson. I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. He is the most revered person. You put Cal Ripken up against Brooks Robinson, Cal comes close, but it's Brooksy. He's Mr. Baltimore. So, and a great player. But he's not number 1. And I hate it. It pains me to say it, but Mike's better. So there we go. That's our third baseman. Let's go behind the plate because this is the one I think is going to be a lot of fun. Behind the plate catcher, which is one of the single most important positions on a ball field, maybe the most important. Let's start with Ben. Catcher for you, buddy. Who's your catcher?
I'm going back to the Reds and going with Johnny Bench.
Good pick. Yeah. That might be a unanimous pick on this one. Maybe not. Actually, it won't. What am I thinking? I forgot we got Dodgers here. I know where they're going.
Well, he had 10 Gold Gloves. He knew how to call a game. He knew how to throw a ball. He threw him. I can't. Johnny Bench is Johnny Bench.
I know.
When you still have people referring to him as a catcher in any kind of situation, he had an effect on the game.
100%. I agree 100%. Great pick. Steve, what about you? Who's your catcher?
My catcher is Carlton Fisk.
Wow.
He's 11-time All-Star, Gold Glove winner, 3-time Silver Slugger Award, obviously in the Hall of Fame, Rookie of the Year when he played. He just played the position better than anybody else I think I know. And the catcher, if you don't know, for the people in the chat, the catcher is the one that runs the field. He's the only person on the field that can actually see the whole field. And I think Carlton was a better general than most of the others.
I agree. That's a great pick and always overlooked. People always look at Bench first because they played around the same time. But I agree. He's a great pick. A couple people in the chat real fast. Pam's fan says Pudge Rodriguez. Somebody else said Brian McCann. Good players. Pudge is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Or I think he is now, isn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, now he is. So, yep, good pick there for sure. Jeff, who's your catcher, bud?
So I love the Carlton Fisk pick. Iconic home run.
Yes.
I love the Johnny Bench pick. He revolutionized catching. Nobody used one hand until him. And I really want to pick somebody who is a Dodger, but I'm not. It's Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra is not appreciated for how great he was because he was such a goofball. And if it's a goofball list, man, he comes in number 1. Hilarious dude. The best catcher offensively, you got to go back. I mean, unless you're talking Josh Gibson or Gabby Arnett from way back in the day, Yogi Berra was the guy for the Yankees for a decade. He's amazing. So, Yogi Berra.
Great pick. I'm laughing because who you said is my pick. I picked Josh Gibson.
So it's hard because you don't know who he played against, but you could argue.
Exactly. But Josh Gibson, they always considered him the Black Babe Ruth.
Yep.
Okay, he played in the Negro Leagues. He's a lifetime 350 hitter as a catcher. Okay, as a catcher. He was a Hall of Famer that didn't get a chance to play, which is a travesty. The guy should have been playing Major League Baseball. I can only imagine what he would have done. I mean, we'll never know. But just looking at his numbers alone, he had 638 hits and I think they only played like 5 seasons, if that. I can't remember, but he put up great numbers. Had 107 home runs, he just was fantastic for me. I think Josh Gibson would be a Hall of Famer in the major leagues. In the Negro leagues, they consider him the greatest player to ever play in their league.
There's a bunch of guys that we'll never really know because they didn't get to play against everybody else, but he's the one that stands out. I mean, when they say his home runs went farther than anybody else, all we have is they said. Like there's nothing but anecdote. So
Right.
I feel we'll never know, which is part of the reason I love baseball, but also one of the reasons that was so horrible.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. So honorable mention, Ben, who's your backup catcher?
Mike Piazza.
Nice.
I lived in Southern California in the mid 90s, and every single time I was on my way to work, I'd be listening to K-Rock, and the sports guy on that channel was always lathering over Mike Piazza. And he wasn't wrong.
Mike Piazza, to this day, I wish he would have punched Roger Clemens right in the face. If he had,
I have never liked you more, Walt.
If he would have been my favorite player of all time. If he had punched him that day, he would have shot right past Eddie Murray, who is my favorite. If he had taken his right hand and punched Clemens that day when he threw that bat, it'd be all over. I love Piazza. He's one of my favorite players.
Me too.
Yep, for sure. Jeff, who's your honorable mention?
Roy Campanella. My favorite catcher of all time is Piazza, and I could talk about him forever. And if you don't know what's going on with him in Italy right now, it's pretty hilarious. You should check it out. But Roy Campanella almost was my number one all time. I love Roy Campanella. I never met him, but I've been in the same room with him. I got a couple of his cards right there. He's one of my all-time favorite players, and amazing. I think he won 3 MVPs in a row. I wouldn't swear to that, but he was really, really good. So
yeah, Pepper Tree Villa's got to drop out. Said they have a bad signal. Thanks for dropping in, guys. I appreciate it. Steve, what about you, buddy? Honorable mention?
Yeah, like these guys said, Mike Piazza is my favorite of all time. But I went with I went back and forth between Berra and Bench for second. But ultimately, Bench has better numbers. But I went with Berra just because I think Yogi Berra. I don't know why. I'll be honest with you. I just put Yogi Berra. He was an 18-time All-Star in a different era. But Johnny Bench's numbers are far better than Berra's, a mile far better. But I don't know. I don't like Johnny Bench for some reason. I'm not sure why. But probably because I'm in Indiana and I get sick and tired of the Reds and Cubs fans around here. So
I think it's those commercials for Blue Emu oil or whatever the heck it is.
It could be that too. So. But I'm going with Yogi Berra.
I think that's a great pick. Yogi Berra. Yeah, I agree with what Jeff said earlier. I think he's highly underrated. People never mention him. He did a lot for some great teams.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. My honorable mention was Bench. I think Johnny Bench is one of the greatest catchers to ever play the game. I would take him in a heartbeat. So Johnny Bench is my guy. And now we're going to get to the really hard part of the stream as we start talking about the outfielders. Now, I'm going to do this. You're going to have your starter, and you can have more than one honorable mention. If you want to name 2 or 3, that's fine. We're going to have to be honest with you. But I do want a starter. I do want a starter. So, and we're going to go left, center, right. So, Jeff, we'll start with you, buddy. Who's your left fielder?
Just my starter right now?
Just your starter. We'll do honorable mentions in a minute.
Well, if we didn't piss you off with A-Rod, I'll piss you off with Barry Bonds. That dude, he had 204, I think. His 2004 season is like video game numbers. It's stupid how good they are.
Yeah, well, there was a reason for that.
Yeah, he's the best hitter of our generation.
Nobody at the age of 37 hits 70 home runs, dude.
Just one. Now, I can't deny, look at, the guy was not a good human. He's still not a good human. And he's a cheater, and there's all those things. But, he played.
Tom.
I mean, Ty Cobb was a jerk, too, in a different era. So, Barry Bonds, you've got to just decide you're not going to root for him because he had did he get – I actually blame the commissioner's office for Barry Bonds, but that's a whole 12-hour stream probably.
We're having that stream very soon.
That stream's in the near future.
Let's go. I'm ready. But Barry Bonds, I mean, I'm not even the numbers guy of the people in here, but you go with the numbers, you got to suspend reality to get rid of Barry Bonds.
Well, that's why I have to suspend the numbers with Barry Bonds. That's my only issue with Barry Bonds is the numbers are game style numbers, but there's a reason they're game style numbers, and that's what bothers me is the physicality of every day, 162 games at the age of 37, and you hit 71 home runs, 73 home runs. Nobody's ever done that before. At the age of 37, you're supposed to be declining, not getting better. When he was 38, he hit 45 more. He had never done that in his career.
He's a little college kid at Arizona State. I mean,
but he had never done that. But he had never done that before either, Jeff. It's not like when he was 27, he was in. Well, that's my point. That's my point. But I love Bonds when he was younger, before everything started.
Listen,
I still think
I am a Dodgers fan, but more than love for the Dodgers, I have hate for the Giants. So me popping off about Barry Bonds gives me no pleasure. I'm not. I have other stories about Barry Bonds. They're not good stories.
Oh my, yeah, I don't want to hear those.
You don't, but
I do, but I don't.
In a few weeks,
maybe you will. But Barry Bonds he's one of the greatest hitters ever.
Gotcha. Steve, next, buddy. Who's your left fielder?
Well, the farthest from my list is Barry Bonds, but my left fielder is Pete Rose. So Pete played left field for a while, and he did quite well. Obviously, his numbers, and he was 17-time All-Star Rookie of the Year, World Series MVP, 2 Gold Gloves, all that good stuff. So I'm going with Pete in my left field.
Great pick. Nothing wrong with that one at all. Nothing wrong with that. Ben, what about you, buddy?
Ricky Henderson.
Nice.
Greatest leadoff hitter in the history of the game, by the way.
Yeah, and the man knew how to steal a base. I mean,
lost art. It's a lost art, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I grew up through college watching Ricky Henderson play baseball, and he still hangs out at the Coliseum. There was no one better in left field for the A's.
And he'll tell you that too, by the way.
Oh, I know.
No one loves Ricky more than Ricky.
Amen to that.
Yep. But still,
he's a great.
I respect the man, and he didn't juice.
No. Well, the thing about Ricky Henderson, I'll say this too. He was a guy that knew how to disrupt the game. When he's on the base paths, he's already at second, maybe third, and he's gonna score. I mean, look at the amount of runs he scored. It's incredible. I mean, that's a great pick.
The greatest home run trot ever. I loved his home run.
Oh, I know. It's Ricky loves Ricky for sure. So left fielder for me, again, I always go with the old guys. I got to go with the legend. He might be the greatest hitter of all time. It's Ted Williams. I'm sorry. I don't see how anybody beats Ted Williams at this position. 344 lifetime batting average. His on-base percentage, his lifetime on-base percentage is 482. Lifetime. That's incredible. Some guys don't do that in a season. He did it in his career. It's amazing. 2,600 hits, 521 home runs, 1,839 RBIs. And, oh, by the way, he lost 3 of his prime years to World War II, and he served his country. He's the last man to hit 400, and he's just one of the greatest hitters of all time. I got to go with Ted Williams. He's my pick.
I love that pick.
Yeah, I love everybody's picks. Like I said, I don't think there's any wrong answers here, but Ted to me he's the guy. So there you go. That's my honorable. That's my left fielder. Steve, start with you. Who honorable mentions?
Ted was third on my list, but I just don't think he could do what he did against today's world. That's another stream. I know you don't agree, but I went with because I did it, and he was my 5th player. So I don't remember what it was when we did that stream, but I'm going with Carl Yastrzemski, 18-time All-Star. Obviously, he's in the Hall of Fame, All-Star Game MVP, Triple Crown winner, Gold Gloves, 7 Gold Gloves, I might add. He's just a very decorated athlete. So I'm going with Carl Yastrzemski.
Okay. Any others?
No, I only went with 1 each.
Okay, gotcha. Ben, what about you, buddy?
I went with Willie Stargell.
Oh, nice. There's a pick for you.
Yeah, 7-time All-Star. I mean, he won 2 Worlds. He was a part of World Series winning teams in 2 years.
Family.
MVP.
Let's not do that, Jeff, please.
MVP in 1979, and
he beat my team twice.
Lifelong player.
71 and 79. It was the Orioles both times they beat in the World Series.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry about that, but I mean,
That's okay.
He's a good player.
He had help in 71 with Clemente, but
Yeah.
in 79 it was him.
Yeah.
He was the guy in 79.
Dave
Yeah.
Parker.
Yeah. But Parker didn't have a good series in 79. Willie had a great series.
Yeah.
That's why he won the MVP. But yeah, all right, that's a great pick. Good honorable mention. Jeff, what about you, buddy?
Ted Williams is my honorable mention. Ted Williams is hard to not pick number one, but for me, Bonds was number one. I grew up in San Diego. He played in Boston, but he was a San Diego kid, so I followed him from a young age. Obviously, he was well done by the time I was watching, but iconic. Wanted to be called the greatest hitter ever. Probably when he retired. My favorite left fielder, you didn't ask for it, but I'm gonna say it. It's Dusty Baker, and that is a homer pick. But no, Ted Williams is. Ted Williams could rake. The 1941 year when Ted Williams won the MVP, he won it over Joe DiMaggio the year he got
56 game hitting streak.
That's how good Ted Williams was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And actually, during the 56 game hitting streak, Ted Williams had a better average.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I'm going to throw in my honorable mention for center field now, if you let me, because he's really a left fielder. It was Ricky Henderson. I love Ricky Henderson. I think he's one of the great players of all time. And he was horrible defensively. He couldn't even throw from me to you. He couldn't. But boy, offensively, what a force. So he's my backup center fielder because I don't like rules. So.
Okay. Well, you guys are going to be upset, Steve. You're going to be upset with me, but my honorable mention is actually Barry Bonds. What upsets, and it's sad.
You just berated Jeff for picking him.
But I'm going to tell you why.
He changed his mind. He thought I was right.
Is he was on the path to greatness, and then he decided to have the video game numbers. If he had just stayed the course, he was going to go down as one of the greatest left fielders, if not the greatest, other than Ted Williams. Anyway, he just delegitimized himself in that respect, but he still was the guy.
I don't think he was on his path to greatness beforehand. I think there was hints of him. I think there was hints of him enhancing stuff before he got big.
Well, then, if that's the case, then I would take that back. But I'm looking at from when we started to really know what was happening. Before that time, the guy was a 30-30 guy, like every year. He wasn't just hitting home runs. He was hitting for average. He was stealing bases, and he was great defensively. He was,
Miguel wants to know who can throw a ball from Texas to Maryland.
I answered that in the chat.
And Pete says center fielder Mickey Mantle, Ty Cobb, Joe DiMaggio, and Mike Trout. And we're going to get to center field next. And I think this is going to be the hardest position, I think. But so there you go. So that's our left fielders, and now we are moving to center field. And whoo, man, talk about some center fielders. We got center fielders galore. And Ben, we're going to start with you, buddy. Who's starting center field for you?
Hands down, Willie Mays.
All right, great pick. Willie Mays, great hitter, great fielder, could steal bases too. He did it all.
12-time Gold Glove man, and he knew how to catch a ball anywhere. He created a basket catch. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had the catch in the World Series. Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Great pick.
No, Willie Mays.
Great pick.
I'm not the biggest Giants fan by any means.
Well,
but you got to respect his work.
Yeah. Steve, who's your center fielder, bud?
Make people mad. So right now, I wouldn't take anybody else in the history of the game except Mike Trout. And that is, people may or may not agree with me. He's already listed on the all-time list when you look him up as the 6th greatest center fielder to ever play the game. He was a rookie in 2012.
What list were you looking at when you looked that up?
I looked him up on ESPN, and I looked him up on Major League Baseball forums, and I looked him up on I can't remember the third one.
Projecting out because you just said 6. But
he's only played on since 2012.
So I know. I mean, so you're projecting out future.
No, you could be, but looking at his career stats through the first 7 years, he's already batting over 300. He's got 848 hits if you do that over 7 years, that's pretty incredible. 157 home runs. He's already won the Rookie of the Year. He's been a 5-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. He's won the MVP and 2 All-Star MVPs. if I'm taking my bet, the position across the board of anybody in their prime or not in their prime, nobody else but Mike Trout.
Okay, great pick. I have no problem with that pick at all. He's today's player. He's the best player today, bar none. I mean, he sets the bar. It's that simple. Everybody else is second tier. You can argue everybody else after him, but it's him first now, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think any of the past players complete to his athleticism in that position at all.
Fair enough. I disagree.
You can, but I'm going to put him on my team.
Hey, you might make mine. You never know. Jeff?
So,
pick, buddy?
I love Trout. To me, you got to project out. Like, I mean, if you said Pujols 10 years ago, man, he'd be the greatest player ever. So I love Trout. He should be a Dodger. I love Trout. But no. When you got a position with Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle in it, you got to have a complete career for me. This was really hard for two people, and then there was a vast drop-off in my opinion. And I just told you who they were. But for me, Willie Mays is the greatest center fielder of all time. Nothing he couldn't do on a field. And,
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's a great player.
Absolutely. One of the greatest players of all time. First off, he could be a top 5 greatest player of all time.
Yeah, exactly.
Center fielder. So my center fielder for me, I think he's the greatest center fielder. I think he's actually the greatest hitter of all time. It's Ty Cobb. Cobb to me is the greatest hitter to ever play the game, and I'll tell you why. We know the numbers. He is first all-time, 366 lifetime batting average, 4,189 hits, 117 home runs, 1,933 RBIs for a guy that only hit 117 home runs. He was an incredible base stealer, too. He hit 400 twice, 12 batting titles. And the thing about Cobb, he didn't hit home runs because he didn't want to hit home runs. They remember the time, and you guys can look this up. There was a story of a writer who said Cobb was a base hitter, and he took exception to that and went out in a doubleheader and hit 5 home runs in 2 games and said, I can do it if I want to do it. I don't want to do it. This is how I play the game. I just think the guy would he have hit 700? No, but I think he would have hit 300 to 500 home runs if he wanted to. That's not the game he wanted to play. Greatest hitter to ever play the game, one of the worst people to ever play the game, was a racist, was a terrible individual. That's the one thing that really kind of disappoints me about this man. But he did everything well. Defensively, base stealer, hitting, he did it all. It's Ty Cobb for me. I can't not put the man as a starter on this list. So that's my guy. Now we're going to do honorable mentions because this is the hardest position on the field for me was center field because there are so many great ones. And everybody's pick, every single one of them could easily start. But Steve, did you give your honorable mentions, bud?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It's Ty Cobb. So I'm not taking any other 2 players but Mike Trout and Ty Cobb.
Gotcha. Okay. Ben, how about you, buddy?
I went with Ken Griffey Jr.
That's a good talk about it. Well, I'll get into him in a minute as well, but I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, but for up and comer, I'd have to go with the A's current Ramon Laureano. The man is an amazing machine, and if he can keep producing the way that he's producing right now, he's going to be one of those players that will rank way up there at the top of the list of center fielders because he is just an incredible thrower. I don't know if you've seen any of his. Last year, Mike Trout had something like 17 assists over the course of a season. Mm-hmm. Laureano had that in the first 31 games of his career in the majors. The man knows how to throw a ball, and he's accurate.
Yep. That throw he made when none of us had heard of him, he was like day 4 in the majors.
From center field to first base?
That was stupid. That was video game. That was amazing. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah. But he's definitely one of those up-and-coming honorable mentions for me.
Gotcha. I agree. So, Jeff, what about you, buddy? Who's your honorable?
Mays was 1, and for me, Mantle's 1A. It's hard for me to I think there's a vast gap after that. That said, Ken Griffey Jr. for me would be 3. I just think he's amazing. I watched him. I was lucky enough to be at the World Baseball Classic in Arizona, and I got to see Clemens pitch, and I saw Griffey hit a ball, and it was in Arizona. The air's light. I get it. But if that thing didn't go 600 feet, then I'm dead. Like, it was insane. And I just love.
Sure, they measured it. Did you ever find out how far it went?
No, I never. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea.
Measure everything nowadays.
I watched it go a long way. That's all I know. But for me, it's Mantle number 2, and I mentioned Henderson just because I need to get him on there. But Griffey, it's got to be mentioned in here.
Gotcha.
Great.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. So many center fielders: Willie Mays, Ken Griffey, Mickey Mantle, Mike Trout. That was my honorable mentions. You can't.
And I didn't mention my favorite, Duke Schneider. You're welcome.
It's funny. All your favorites are Dodgers.
Yeah,
It's great.
I wonder why that is.
My favorites tend to be usually the team I'm rooting for too.
Yeah, I mean,
Not me. Not all the time. Just depends. But those are all great picks. And Duke Schneider, I'm just kidding with you, Jeff. You know that. He's a great player. He was a great player. Another one that for some reason is always left off the list, and I don't know why, because he's fantastic.
Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. It was Willie, Mickey.
I mean,
he played in a time where 3 of the greatest center fielders ever all played in the same city at the same time.
It's crazy. That's awesome. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
Imagine. I can't imagine.
And Brooklyn was by far the 3rd team at the time, so that's why.
Crazy. So right field, here we go. Right field, we're going to start with Jeff this time. Jeff, who's your right field? And stick with us, guys, because we still got the pictures to go to. But Jeff, who's starting right field for you?
The greatest player of all time, Babe Ruth.
Okay. Anything else? Or?
I could talk a lot for a long time about him, but he's iconic, and it's for the right reasons.
Does anything else need to be said?
Yeah, Babe Ruth.
Ben?
It's not even close. And
Yeah,
second or third greatest player of all time is my second right fielder in my never so humble.
Ben?
I chose Babe Ruth too.
Okay. Steve?
Babe Ruth. There's no other choice.
Right. And yeah, that was my but there's a reason for that. Look, guys, he is the greatest baseball. The guy won 20 games twice as a pitcher. He holds the major league record for most consecutive World Series shutout innings as a pitcher. He would have been a Hall of Famer as a pitcher. He was the greatest hitter of his time. He could do anything he wanted to do. He was hitting more home runs than teams were hitting at the time. He revolutionized. You talk about people that revolutionize a game. He revolutionized the game. He made the home run cool.
That's right.
It's just he's unbelievable. Look what he did to the Red Sox. They traded him and it took him 100 years to make up for it.
When Maris hit 61, Mantle hit 56. When Ruth hit 60, nobody even hit 30. That's how much better he was than the field. He was the greatest player of all time.
Yep. And he literally, I could drive to his house where he was born, and I'd be there in 10 minutes, guys. And we'll have to do a video on that one time.
Yes, I can't go.
It's a museum. He was born in Baltimore. He was born in Maryland.
Please do that.
Yep. And his school, the St. Mary's Industrial School, where he went for boarding school, I could literally walk to it from my house right now. I'm not kidding you. It's the neatest stuff. We'll have to do a video on that one time.
If I'm ever in Baltimore, we're meeting up there.
Oh my gosh, yes, man. Let me know. You guys are ever here.
I would love it.
But yep. So we're all. It's funny. That was our only unanimous. Everybody. It's great, but that just goes to show you how awesome he was. So Jeff, we'll start with you. Honorable mentions.
It's Hank Aaron. I think Hank Aaron is the second, third, or fourth greatest player. I think it's hard to decide where he goes, but because he played right field, he didn't get to be a starter on my team. But give me a DH, and it's Hammer and Hank. I actually think he's underrated by a lot. He was great. I also am going to throw in again my favorite. I didn't ask for it, but I grew up in San Diego, and I love arms. I love that you mentioned Ramon Laureano. Dave Winfield had a cannon. I watched that guy throw balls. He's a Hall of Famer. He's certainly not iconic like Ruth or Aaron, but I wanted to throw him in there. He's not even in the top 10 right fielders, but I love him.
Well,
but Hank Aaron would be number 2.
Yeah, but Dave Winfield could have been drafted by a basketball team. He could have been drafted by a football team. Yeah, he was. He was drafted by all 3 of them.
He drafted by 4 major sports. He was drafted by 2, the ABA. Isn't that great?
Yeah, the guy was incredible. That's a great pick. That's a great pick. Honorable mention for you, Ben, right fielder.
I've got a couple. I went with Roberto Clemente and Ichiro Suzuki.
Ichiro. Talk about a guy that could throw. That's a great pick. Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Steve?
I almost put Ichiro on my list as well, just because of what he's done. But I had to go with Hank Aaron.
Yeah. Yep. Hank Aaron, great player. Hank Aaron was my honorable mention. Him and Roberto Clemente. Hank Aaron, because of what he had to go through, all the death threats and all the crap he had to go through when he was chasing Root's record, which is unheard of. Those people should be. I can't believe he had to go through the stuff he had to go through during that time. Great player.
It was a different time. It was just a different time.
It was. Well,
yeah, that's right.
we're getting there. That's a whole nother. We're getting better, but it was it was horrendous that he had the death threats he had just because he was going to beat a record.
Just like Roger Maris in '61.
Well, it's true. I mean, but it just Hank Aaron is such a great player, and unfortunately, because of what he went through, it really hardened him as a person too, which was too bad because it really made him less approachable as a person.
So I don't want to take up a ton of time here, but I used to be part of the Boys and Girls Club. He is part of the Boys and Girls Club. I can tell you this: behind closed doors, he's insanely nice. He does amazing stuff for kids. He doesn't want anybody to know about it. You get more than 3 people in the room, and he is out. He doesn't even talk to anybody. So he's actually an insanely nice guy. But you're right. He probably doesn't. He probably, rightfully so, has some trust issues.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Exactly.
So there you go, guys. That's our 9. That's our 8 starting positions. But we got to get the pitchers real fast, and you're gonna give me your 5 starters, and we're gonna each person just give me your 5, and then if you want to do a couple honorable mentions so we can kind of speed things up. I know we're kind of running long, and I appreciate everybody in the chat for being patient with us. I hope you're enjoying it. There's been a lot of great picks in the chat as well, so I definitely appreciate that. Nolan Ryan Miguel says everybody. We'll see if he makes the list, but we're gonna start with Steve. For you, buddy. If you have to give me a starting 5 for your pitchers, what's your rotation? Who's going to make your team?
Clayton Kershaw, Sandy Koufax, Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, and Walter Johnson.
No, because he had Dodgers. You're so funny.
I'm sorry, two of the best pitchers to ever pitch in the game. Why would you not take them? Because
Clayton Kershaw's not even done yet. Let's get a hope.
And he's rated on track to be the 3rd best pitcher in Major League history. We can have this discussion another time.
Yeah. No, I told
you I'd get you.
I only picked 3 Dodgers in my entire list. I can distinguish between what's not and what is, and they're great pitchers. That's why they're on my list.
See, everybody in the chat, I told you I'd get him mad before the end of the night.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad yet. Wait till we start doing these streams, these other controversial streams.
I know. I'm just kidding. All right. Great pick. No, they're all great picks. I'm just giving you a hard time, man. I'm just giving you a hard time. You guys get on me. I got to give it back a little bit. But no, great picks for sure. What about honorable mentions, Steve? Did you have a couple honorable mentions as well?
Yeah, Roger Clemens and Greg Maddux.
Awesome. Great picks for sure. Ben, what about you, buddy? Who's your starting 5? If you had to pick a rotation for pitchers, who you bringing?
Come back to me, please.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I'll let Jeff go, then I'll go, and then we'll come back to you.
Sounds good.
5 and my honorable mention. Is that what I'm doing?
Yeah. Give me your 5, and then we'll go honorable mention too.
Clemens, Randy Johnson. Does that mean that I go away? Okay, no. Clemens, Randy Johnson, Koufax, Maddux, and Pedro Martinez, who the Dodgers trade away for Delino to Shields. Oops.
Yay.
And my backups are Cy Young and Walter Johnson, because they're hard to compare because pitching stats were so different. Satchel Paige, Dizzy Dean, and Kershaw, who will easily roll up this list if he doesn't die in the next week.
There you go. So mine are all old timers. We always talk about stats. Stats don't lie. Stats are stats. I can't deny the stats. Walter Johnson, Christy Mathewson, Grover Cleveland Alexander, Greg Maddux, and Steve Carlton. Steve Carlton played for some of the worst Phillies teams ever and still was a fantastic pitcher. In 1972, the Phillies won 59 games. He won 27 of them. He was a great pitcher that gets lost in the shuffle all the time. So he's my pick. My honorable mention is Clemens, Cy Young, Clayton Kershaw, Randy Johnson, and Tom Seaver. I think Seaver has missed way too much. A great pitcher for the Mets. and I think he should be on the list. So that's
I almost put Carlton on my list. I love that pick, but he just stayed out. Well, and Pam mentioned Verlander. He might get there. My goodness, he's having years unbelievable.
Yeah, he's very good too. And Palmer won 20 games eight times. He was a great pitcher for the Orioles, but he doesn't make. I can't put him there. He just doesn't make that list. He won 280 games. He won a lot of games, but he's not quite to that level with these guys, for sure. All right, Ben. Yep. Focus is on you. Spotlight is on you. Who you got?
I went with Sandy Koufax, Greg Maddux, Nolan Ryan, Don Drysdale, and Bob Feller.
Bob Feller.
Nice.
Cleveland Indians. There you go. Good pick.
Yeah,
Feller's another one that's forgotten about.
Yeah, well, I listened to a lot of Ray Fosse during broadcasts of the A's, and he's always talking about Feller.
He's a big Pete Rose fan too.
Yeah, he is. But my honorable mentions.
Pete Rose?
My honorable mentions are Verlander and Kershaw.
There you go. Great picks. Absolutely. There you are. And in the chat, we had a couple people. Somebody said Verlander. Somebody said Greg Maddux. Bob Gibson. That's a great pick. Very intimidating pitcher was Bob Gibson. Very intimidating pitcher. So those are all great picks. And then the last couple guys, I want to do relief pitchers. Give me 2 relief pitchers and then 2 honorable mentions. We'll start with Jeff. Jeff, who's your 2 starting relief pitchers?
Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman. And I only had one secondary one, and he's my favorite, Eric Gagne. Man, so relievers are hard. If you look at relievers for a career, it is Trevor, and that is Mo Rivera. But if you take him for 1 season or 2 seasons or 3 seasons, there's some guys who are elite. Kimbrel has a chance to get up there with Mo and Hoffman, but Eric Gagne was throwing wiffle balls on a major league field for about 2 years. Nobody can touch him. And then you got guys like Billy Wagner and all that. But for me, it's Mo Rivera and Hoffman, and then Eric Gagne. It's more of a career and a peak value versus whatever.
Okay.
So that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Steve, what about you, buddy?
If I could pick the single greatest relief pitching season in history, I would definitely, in my opinion, it's Gagne for sure.
Yeah.
He was one of very few relievers to ever win a Cy Young Award. Incredible pitcher. He's my favorite reliever of all time.
Me too.
But my starters are Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman easily. And another honorable mention is Dennis Eckersley.
Can I dive in? Has anyone ever heard Trevor Hoffman's entrance? You can still get it on
Yes.
YouTube.
Enter the Sandman.
No, Hell's Bell.
Oh, Hell's Bell.
Yeah, for AC/DC.
Enter the Sandman is Rivera, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's iconic too. Again, growing up in San Diego, that was, it's like Major League when they went crazy with Wildman came in. I'm sure that's where they got that.
Gotcha. Okay. Ben, what about you, buddy? Who's your relievers?
Dennis Eckersley is number 1 for me. Why wouldn't he be?
Right.
The things he did for the A's was amazing. And Mariano Rivera, you can't deny the man. The man is the reliever of all time.
Gotcha.
But I would say my honorable mention would be Sean Doolittle.
Oh,
Nice.
All right. Very good.
Ben, you know what's going on with Eckersley and David Price right now?
I do.
No.
I do. They're going at it again. They're fighting again.
Oh.
They're buddies.
Yeah, they're fighting again. It's news, but really not news. For me, it's the same too. I agree. Rivera's number 1. One pitch pitcher who could throw it and tell you he's throwing it, and you still couldn't hit. It didn't matter. Here it is. Hit it, and you can't. And then it's Eckersley. Eckersley was a great starting pitcher who then became a great reliever as well. A la John Smoltz was another one who did that.
He was actually another one on my list.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He wasn't on my closer list because of Hoffman, because he had a good career as a starter too. And Smoltz, that's a really good point too.
Yeah.
But my gosh, again, I made fun of the 88, and by the way, Eckersley for that pitch. But that year he had, those 2 years in a row, actually 88 and 89 are insanely elite. Like he walked like 3 people in 2 years. He did walk Mike Davis right before the Kirk Gibson home run. Am I mentioning that enough?
And Miguel in chat.
The whole World Series, and it was the one that changed the whole World Series.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's a big home run.
Miguel in chat asked for starting pitchers if he can have Nolan Ryan's 5 times. Then later on said, "I guess nobody likes no hitters around here." So,
but Nolan Ryan was a look. Greg Maddux,
I like Nolan.
Now I love Nolan Ryan.
I love Nolan. He's not one of the top 10 pitchers of all time.
But he's not a pitcher. He's a thrower. He was all about overpowering hitters. That's why he was able to throw 7 no-hitters. Because when he was on, he was unhittable. But when he was off, he was off. And that's the thing about him. And he played a long time. But Greg Maddux, that's a pitcher. There's a guy that throws 92, but he knew how to pitch. He knew how to set up hitters. He knew how to change speeds. Yes. He understood being in and out, up and down. He just was great.
Oh, I love that you said that about Maddux. Has anybody seen the YouTube video of Greg Maddux pranking Chris Bryant?
Yeah, I remember. I saw
Check it out. Brilliant.
I saw it. It's funny. And then Goose Gossage and Raleigh Fingers are my
Those are good ones.
Gossage only because he was an intimidating figure. He wasn't the best, but he was very intimidating. And Raleigh was great. I thought he was great. So last thing, guys, and then we're going to wrap it up. Thank you to everybody in the chat. We got to have a manager. We got to have a manager for our team. There's got to be somebody out there, and I want an honorable mention too. Who's going to lead your team? Who's your manager? Who do you want? We're going to start with Steve. Steve, okay, I know you had one. Who's your manager, buddy?
Tommy Lasorda, Joe Torre. I mean, there's nobody else.
Joe, Tommy Lasorda.
Tommy Lasorda is my favorite. Joe Torre is the guy I'm going.
I love Tommy Lasorda. I love Joe Torre too. But great picks. Ben, what about you? Who's your manager?
As much as I don't want to say this, it's Bruce Bochy.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, 3-time World Series winner. You can't dispute that. Honorable mention would be Billy Martin.
Gotcha. Steve, did you have an honorable mention, buddy? I'm sorry.
It was Tommy Lasorda.
Oh, well, okay. All right, that's one. And Jeff, who's your manager? Who's your honorable mention?
So I haven't thought about this one. I didn't know we were doing this one.
I didn't either till he said at the beginning of the show.
Yeah. My favorite is certainly Lasorda. And if you wanted a manager for 1 year, I love the Billy Martin pick. Everybody's going to want to punch him in the face by, June. So I don't know if I would hire him, but I don't know. Lasorda is definitely my favorite. And I can homer you and say Walter Alston too, but it's probably, who was the Yankees manager there in the 50s that I can't come up with his name?
Casey Stengel?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about Stengel, but boy, with all the World Series titles, it'd probably be Stengel. I don't know. Lasorda. There you go.
Okay. Meg with Mickey's Magic says honorable mentions Jeff Bates and Steve's World.
Oh man,
Dude, can you imagine if you and I were coaching a team together?
Or against each other?
It would be awesome.
When we're not on a stream, I got to tell you a story about coaching against my best buddy back in the day. You'll love it.
So my manager is Connie Mack, and my honorable mention is Sparky Anderson. Sparky won World Series in both leagues. He won it with the Reds. He won it with the Tigers.
I almost went with Sparky Anderson.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Sparky's great. Connie Mack, he was the ultimate manager back in the day, and actually an owner later on in time.
Yeah. All right. Dan with Goofy mentions Bobby Cox. I never liked him, but clearly a great manager. I don't know.
Bobby was good, but to be honest with you, Bobby, all those seasons with the Braves, won World Series. Yeah, I mean, they just could never really get over the hump. They beat Cleveland in '94, I think it was, or '95, but they just couldn't. You win your division 15 straight seasons. You got to come home with more than one. I'm sorry. And I like Bobby Cox, but I couldn't pick him. I just couldn't. But so there you go, guys. That's our picks. That is our all-time Major League Baseball teams. I think all of them would probably never lose a game. They probably would all go 162-0. They would just. I love everybody's picks. I want to thank first and foremost everybody in the chat for hanging with us. Thank you all very much for giving us your picks. I think you guys are fantastic in the chat, and all the ladies and all the gentlemen for being in there. I love everybody's pick in the chat. But I also want to say thank you to my panel tonight. You guys have been great. We tease each other, but I love this stuff. And even though I have Steve and Jeff on all the time, they do it on purpose because they like to outnumber me. But one of these days, when I get somebody on my end, we're gonna have a real rodeo showdown going.
The best part is though, when you pick on us for our choices, you turn around and say the same choices right after us.
You yelled at me about Bonds.
I did that with one pick. did that with Bonds.
And Clayton was on your honorable mentions
Yeah,
list.
yeah.
And,
Oh, he was on honorable mention,
so
but he's not a starter.
And so was Mike Trout and some of these other ones that I had. I was listening.
Honorable mentions, sure. I can't not put them on the list, but they're not starting. No, not yet. Maybe one day. But no, thank you all. I appreciate it very much. First and foremost, Ben, Pepper Tree Villa, buddy, thank you so much. Hope you had a good time. Did you have a good time tonight?
I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Thank you, Ben.
anytime we're talking sports or baseball, you always have an open invitation. We're here every Saturday night at 8. You want to plug your channel? Anything coming up?
Arnie's doing Jew Live every day this month. I need to still work on an upcoming episode of Life with Ben that'll post on Tuesday morning. Hopefully I'll be able to get that done with the rest of the busy weekend that I have.
Okay.
But other than that, just keep looking for some special videos that Arnie and Doug keep promising are coming.
Good. Thank you. Again, we definitely very honored that you could make it tonight. And thank you again. We definitely appreciate you. And Jeff, again, another one of our regulars on here, and we're always honored to have you, buddy. I hope you had a good time tonight.
I loved it. I wish we weren't done. I love this. I could do this all night. Thank you for the invite.
It's my pleasure. What about you? What's coming up on the channel?
Actually, my vlog for today is ready to be uploaded, and it's about Steve. So come watch my channel, which is weird. But anyway, it's about Steve, and yeah, there you go. That's all I got. Oh, and DizTube tomorrow night, Nick from Magical News Live. That'll be cool.
Nice. And last but certainly not least, my partner channel, my buddy, and we always kid each other, but it's all in good fun, and I hope everybody in the chat knows that. We always have to explain that because we get so passionate, but it's all in good fun. It definitely is, and that's Steve from Steve's World. Thanks, Steve. I hope you had a good time tonight, buddy.
Oh, I had a blast, man. I thank you guys for the Ben and Jeff as well. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I'm going live in 3 minutes over on the Shep Family's channel. So
I am too.
See you guys over there, and Ben is too.
Yep.
Good. Anything else coming up, Steve? Anything we need to know about?
A lot. We got This and That episode number 9 next Wednesday at 9:30. My channel on Monday. I think I'm doing Disney tags. I got to look at the calendar. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's Monday at 8. Wednesday at 9:30 is This and That. And then I've got my 1,000/1,200 subscriber giveaway still to do that I've been promising for 3 weeks. So
Great. All righty. And here with us, again, thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody on the panel. For us, we, of course, do our live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Our community spotlight this week has been Eye to Eye Disney Through Our Eyes. Please check out Colin and Jessica's channel. They have a great channel. They really do great stuff. I got a new video coming out tomorrow. I'm ranking all the Pixar movies, so look for that, please. Definitely would appreciate the views on that and the thumbs up. And we'll be back next week on Tuesday. We're probably going to do a bracket, but I'm not sure what it's going to be just yet. But anyway, thank you again to everybody in the chat. We definitely love you all very much. We appreciate you hanging in there with us. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. And we'll talk to you all really soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
bye, guys.
Bye.